So for everybody who just came in, I was letting everybody else know that we're going to be polling the room. Instead of using the Zoom polling like Dr. Favela did yesterday, we're going to try something different today. We'll be using Mentimeter. Some of you may already be familiar with that. So if you want to participate, just open up a tab in your browser and go to menti.com. And I'm going to type that in the chat for you guys. And then once we're ready, I'm going to share a code with you that you can enter into the code box when it pops up. And then you can participate in some of the questions and answer some of the questions I'll be asking. And so you can also download the app if you prefer. If you're on a smartphone or a tablet or an iPad, something like that, you can get the app. And it's called the Mentimeter app, Mentimeter. And you can download that and I'll give you a code once we're ready to poll the room. And again, this isn't mandatory. You don't have to participate in the polls. It'll just kind of make it less boring, a little more engaging. Well, it looks like you don't have to sign in. All you have to do is just go to the website or get the app. You don't have to create an account. I will provide a code for you. So if you want to create an account later, you can create a free account and give your own polls. But essentially, if you're signing in for an account, that's for you to give a poll and you're not giving the poll. You just want the code I give you, which I haven't given it out yet. So just hang tight and we'll get that to you. All right, so I'm going to get started already. So greetings and welcome everybody to our session, Template to Success, Online Course Essentials. My name's Yvonne Stevenson, and I'm an instructional designer here at WT. For those of you who are new, if you're returning faculty, you may already know who I am, but we're so glad you're here today. I see a lot of new faculty and returning faculty here, so we hope you get a lot out of this session. Feel free to take notes. I'm going to cover a lot today, but don't feel overwhelmed. You're going to get a recorded session of today's session, and when you play it back, you can slow it down or you can speed it back up just to get the content again as needed. And so I'm going to continue on with this presentation. So today we're going to take a look at important ways in which to establish an online presence in your course. So to help you establish a presence online more effectively, I'm going to show you the course template that we created that you can easily copy into your courses and edit to save time. We're also going to go through the checklist companion that helps you keep track of the changes that you make within the template course, or it can also work for you if you decide to forgo the template and just say, I maybe just want to add the elements that we discussed today in your own style. And lastly, I'll take questions about upcoming trainings and how to get further assistance. So in all of our recent experiences, we've all discovered that there's an important role that online learning plays now for our institution. So for many of us, online learning necessarily isn't our first choice. We may prefer to teach in person, and it may just be that the nature of the topics that we teach that makes teaching in person your preferred format. So it's okay to prefer in person. There's nothing wrong with having a preference. Everybody's different. But the times now require us to become skilled at teaching online. So faculty now must have online plans in place. Even if you're teaching face-to-face or doing hybrid courses, you've got to plan for the what ifs. So what if the campus closes? What if you become ill? What if your students become ill or they can't risk coming to campus because of health issues or other personal circumstances? So everyone's lives have been just turned upside down. So students now more than ever need flexibility. And so online learning can really give that to them. And so now is the time that we are going to go to Mentimeter. So if you want to pull up that tab, I'm about to give you that code. So if you go to menti.com and you enter in this code, you'll be able to participate in answering these questions. You do not need to create an account with Menti. all you have to do is just enter in the code and you will be, let me open the voting for you, and you'll be able to enter in your responses. So our first question is about feelings and concerns about online teaching. So some of this makes people anxious, other people get excited about this. So how are you feeling about teaching online? Do you have concerns? So just enter in a few adjectives or a couple of phrases so we get a feel for how you're feeling. And so if you want to participate in this, there's instructions at the top there. It says go to menti.com and use the code 856661 to participate. And we'll give everybody about 30 seconds to get some phrases in there. We've got 4 participants so far, so thank you for participating. And again, you are not obligated to. So this is going to close up pretty soon here, and let's see what phrases everybody chose. All right, so unfamiliar, yes. A lot of people are not familiar with this. Maybe you've been teaching at WT forever and you just taught in-person courses. How to record lectures, yes, that is brand new. That is going to be brand new for everybody because we're not going to be on the same system anymore. But don't worry, we are going to take care of you guys. We've got trainings coming up, and so try not to worry about that yet. Some people are nervous, uncertain, very concerned, anxious, and yes. So don't worry. Hopefully we can get rid of a lot of these anxieties and nervousness about online courses today. And don't worry about recording lectures. We're going to have trainings coming up for that in the future, and we've really simplified the process. So try not to worry about that. All right, I'm going to go back to the presentation then. So it's good to hear what everybody's feeling and thinking about all of this. So as far as we may be used to teaching online or remotely, we can't just set it and forget it now. So online learning, it's not a crock-pot recipe. Crock-pot recipes, they have little to no prep time and organization. They are very hard to mess up, and you usually end up with a decent meal afterward. But online learning is completely opposite. So it's not sufficient for faculty to simply log into WT class at the start of the semester, recycle an old lengthy lecture capture, add some PowerPoint files and tests, then log in at midterms or finals to assign grades, and that's it. Some people used to consider that a successful online course, a successful online learning experience, and that may have worked in the past, but students now have so many more choices on where to earn their online degrees. So an element of uniqueness and quality must be included in the online learning environment. That it's got to differentiate WT from the competition, and it's got to encourage students to remain in our programs until completion. So course design has a lot to do with that. And so there's a natural decline with enrollment due to birth rates, but ultimately, we're all responsible for keeping the students that do get here to stay here until completion. And so one of the easiest ways to do this is to establish an online presence in your course. And so I thought it would be helpful to share this community of inquiry model. And so it was established by researchers, and it recognizes 3 elements that are related to presence that are essential for a successful online learning experience. And so those 3 elements are cognitive, social, and teaching presence. So cognitive presence, that's going to relate to thinking and involves the ability of learners to construct meaning through reflection and communication in an online environment. So are you providing opportunities for them to do that? And then social presence, that's going to involve the personal and emotional connection to the group and the ability of learners to project themselves as real people. So are your assignments, is there areas in the course for them to do that? And then last but not least, and I would say maybe most importantly, is the instructor presence. So that's going to direct the cognitive and the social processes there. And that's going to provide regular and constructive feedback to online learners. So that's what the instructor presence does. Regular and constructive feedback to everybody online. And so what this shows is that you get the students' presence going. So if you're not present, chances are your students won't be socially or cognitively present either. And that can make for a mediocre or even a really bad online experience. So this model does a good job of explaining the types of presence that are in courses, but it also illustrates how your presence makes student presence possible. And so let's talk about this. So to understand the impact of teaching presence on student learning goals and objectives, another researcher, I'm showing the results here, they surveyed 2 groups of online students to find out how factors of online teaching presence affected student success in the course. And so the factors of teaching presence that the researchers looked at were the 3 listed here. They looked at instructional design and organization. So that means the course materials, activities, and they also looked at facilitation of discourse, which are things like, did they include engaging asynchronous student discussions to raise questions or to make observations? Are there places where students can do that? And then direct instruction. So this is basically your presence. Are you diagnosing understanding of your students' learnings through, are you giving them comments? Are you providing feedback on assignments, things like that? And so when students were asked to identify the factors that supported their success in the course, they ranked facilitation of discourse and direct instruction as equally important. So and they put instructional design last. So they said this was successful because the facilitation of discourse and the direct instruction made it successful. But then here in the second graphic there, when students were unsuccessful, they identified course instructional design and organization as a more likely cause than the other factors that contributed to their lack of success. And so what does this mean? So it's not too difficult to determine why students felt this way. So the lack of a clear and purposeful design can lead to confusion, frustration. It can also be very demotivating. So bad course design is the equivalent of students walking into a dark, empty classroom and fumbling around to figure out what they're supposed to do in a face-to-face course. And so in an online course, when students spend time trying to figure out what to do, where to find their course materials, they may not have the time, resources, or direction to do their best work. And then so similarly, then you have to spend more time answering logistical, navigational questions. You have to go into more depth on explaining instructions and clarifying expectations, rather than focusing on meaningful instruction and feedback and interaction. And so let's go back to Mentimeter. Why isn't that moving? All right. And so let's go back to Mentimeter. If you would like to participate, we have another question. So now that you've learned a little bit about these areas that make presence successful in your courses, what would you say the most challenging is? So if you want to rank these. So rank the factors in establishing an online presence from most challenging to least. So if you're not sure what these stood for, again, so instructional design and organization, this is coming up with course materials and activities. Facilitation of discourse is things like asynchronous student discussions or creating spaces where students can make comments or ask questions or make observations. And then direct instruction is your presence, how to find ways to diagnose understanding, finding ways to give students comments and feedback. All right, so this one's kind of interesting. It was different than our last session. And so I think it's pretty much the same, and everybody says facilitation of discourse. How how do you establish your presence? And of course, we all know that instructional design and organization is definitely important. Yeah, and I think most people are pretty confident in their direct instruction. It's just a matter of finding out a new format in which to deliver that in. So yeah, this is pretty good. All right, I'm going to close that voting and we'll go back to the presentation. And so, yep, a strong online design. You've got to have a strong online design. It's got to be driven by clear, measurable learning objectives. And you can establish your presence by giving students a feeling that they're being guided and supported in your online space. And so this is just going to be so important. And so content organization and clear communication are paramount to online course success. And so if a student's confused about due dates, location of information, or course organization structure, then presence is probably not going to make a big difference in the learning or teaching process. So as you get your courses ready, your effort needs to go into presenting course information in manageable chunks, and those chunks need to be revealed as the course unfolds. You don't just want to dump everything on students at the start. And so strong online design, again here, it's got to be driven by clear, measurable learning objectives. And I think we kind of forget that sometimes, and we forget to put that in our courses. And so all of this can establish your presence because you're going to give students a feeling that they're being guided and supportive if you give them those objectives. Because we all need to know what we're supposed to be learning. If you just throw items at us, we may not understand why we're doing those things. And so your online space in WT class should not just be a link dump or a document dump that students are sorting through. And if you haven't had, and if you don't have like a strong design, it's really hard to hang meaningful assignments like discussion prompts and engaging activities on. Because without any directions that objectives provide, and if you can't operate WT class, you can have amazing activities and you can have great reflection assignments or discussion prompts, but they're useless if you don't know the options in WT class to make them available, or if you don't, or if students don't understand what the point of the assignment is at the end. And so strong design with knowledge of WT class is going to strengthen your online presence by defining instances for you to facilitate discourse among your students. And it's also a way for you to provide direct instruction to the class as a whole or individually. And so with all that said, are you feeling overwhelmed? Are you thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to find time to do that? Maybe this is a bigger deal than I anticipated. Well, don't be anxious, because we are definitely here to help. We're on this journey with you, and we've done the heavy lifting. We've scoured through numerous quality control rubrics. We took some hints from Quality Matters and other rubrics to come up with a template that's going to help you establish your presence online. And it's going to help you provide your students with the information they need to get off to a good start in your online course. And so we've put all of that in an easy to edit template course for you. And so to use it, you simply do a modified course copy of our template course into your empty course shell for the fall. So if you're familiar with the course copy process, it's basically putting you in our template course and you copy that course into yours, and then you can either copy additional content from one of your previous courses into it if you need to, or just start fresh and start building your class if you're brand new. And so before I bring up the template, there's just a few things that you need to know. Apply this template in your face-to-face and hybrid courses. It's not just for online. And I really think everybody should be trying to build something online now. It's a great thing to have in case the campus closes down the road. And you know, our campus closed suddenly and a lot of people weren't prepared. So if you can start doing this now, even if you're teaching face-to-face or hybrid, if you had everything online and things were to close down, you're not scrambling. And also about the template, it's up to you if you decide to use this in whole or in just parts. You will be able to edit this. Again, it's just like you copy it, and it's just like your own course. You edit, you can include and exclude whatever you'd like. And so the template's easy to use with only 3 parts that you have to edit. And one of those parts includes the area in which you're already going to add your course's specific content. So it's really easy to work with. And most importantly, last but not least, I really want to impress this upon you. So use of the template is completely optional. No one here is required to use this for their online courses or in-person or hybrid. This is just something we've designed to help you and make that transition easy, or to get you going. That way, if the campus does shut down, then you're all set. You've already got a space online, and your students will have a smooth transition. And so I just have to say that I have to talk the template up. I just have to let you guys know that we've gotten a ton of feedback from faculty and students who have used this. I think we've had this for about at least 1.5 years now. And so people who have used it, they give us great feedback. Students love it, and it really lays things out nicely. And so let's go ahead and just go to WT class, and let's look at this template. Okay, so I want to draw your attention to the course menu here on the left. It's made up of 4 sections. The first is the homepage and welcome section. Then the next includes course information. And then the third section is the bulk of the course, which has the course materials. And then the last section is the course tools. And those are just the basic tools that you might find in your menu in regular courses. So let's go ahead and start with the homepage. And so this is your standard homepage. This is where you go to publish grades, and you find your faculty modules here. But the difference here is that we've got a welcome banner. So this is just a basic placeholder to remind you that you can get a customized banner available upon request. And so you can get your name, your course number on that banner, because we have a great graphic design team, and they can create these for you. So you're wondering, well, why would I even want to put a banner in there? But they're just a simple way to add some visual interest and personalize your course. So banners can help you keep track of what course you're in. This is especially helpful if you're teaching more than one course, or if you have an accompanying lab. This can help you keep everything straight. And then, so let's move on to the welcome page. And so this is one of the pages where you have to do some editing. And so you might be thinking, yikes, what is that hideous blue highlighting? Well, the blue highlighting is for you to edit. So instead of you having to type all of this up into your course, if you decide to copy it in, this is just a visual cue on what areas of the template you have to edit. So here is where you fill in your information, and we're going to talk about this. So eventually, when you put your information in, we're asking that you remove the highlighting. Sometimes faculty forget, and it doesn't look very nice, but just remember, when you edit this, blue is for you, so you need to remove the blue highlighting. And so why would we want to include a welcome section in a course? Well, it's always good to begin with a welcome. Having a welcome message really sets the tone for the course. I mean, who doesn't want to be welcomed into a new space? And so not having a welcome section is equivalent to ignoring students in a face-to-face course. Like, you would never just walk in and begin lecturing without acknowledging your students. Or you'd never begin a class by just throwing PowerPoints or course materials at students, right? No, you would acknowledge them, greet them, do all of that good stuff. So the welcome message is going to help you create a positive presence in your online course. You can edit this as you want. You can make it your own. When I've taught online, I'm a little more with exclamation points and smiley faces. Since people can't see my face, I would probably add a little more emotion to this. But again, it's there as a nice template, and you can edit it and make it your own. And so this message is separate from the syllabus here. Although the information typically in this welcome area is also on the syllabus, it's always good to repeat the information. And so the welcome message should contain orientation and housekeeping information that you would often present in a first day of class in a traditional face-to-face course. And so the message contains more detailed information about course expectations. It goes over course content. Here in this highlighted section, you would just give them a brief overview, tell them what types of content are they going to be seeing. Are they going to have to read out of their textbooks? Are you going to give PowerPoints? Are they going to see exams, quizzes? Any materials that they're required to look at, just list there briefly, and any assessments that they'll be seeing. And so it's really important to let students know if there's like a big project. Is there a big paper at the end? Are they expected to work in groups? Let them know about any big assessments here. And then the next section talks about course technology and communication. And so here, the highlighted areas, it's messages or email. Dr. Favela talked about the importance of selecting one and hiding the other in your courses to cause less confusion in communication among your students. So if you want to refer back to those details, that's in yesterday's recording. We'll probably be sending that out soon. So just know that you need to make a choice between those and then let students know what your preferred communication is. And another thing that we've added in here is a response time. And so that's really important, and we often see that's missing in a lot of online courses. And so you want to let students know when you'll get back to them if they email you or course message you. So is it going to be 24 hours, 2 days, 3 days? I would say any more than 3 days, you're if you're going to wait more than 3 days to get back to them, like during the week, you're kind of jeopardizing your online presence. So there's no hard rule. This is just a suggestion here, but again, don't put 48 hours and if you can't get back to them. So you change it to fit your schedule. And so we've also added that this excludes holidays and weekends. And so with that said, if you're not available on the weekends, that is just fine. If you want to have the weekends to yourself. But if you're going to do that, if you're not available during the weekends, then you may not want to make your assignments due on the weekend, because that's unfair to students. If they have a question or need some clarification, they should be able to get in touch with you. So consider not making your assignments due on the weekend if you're not available on the weekend. If not, I would suggest maybe having a Monday or a Tuesday due date. That way you have time to get back in the office and students can still contact you before their assignments are due. And that way it gives them time to get technical help as well. And then, so hopefully if you put all that in there, students will understand that while you're there to help, you also have a life outside of your email and course message correspondence. And then the next section in the welcome here is on grading. So you want to reiterate your grading criteria. Are you points or are you weighting certain grades? You can copy this from your syllabus. And so in online courses, grades and feedback are super important. Let them know when they should expect all of that. Just the way you let them know your expectations of them, they should know what to expect from you. And so again, there's no hard rule. It's really up to you. But here we've put in work will be returned to you within 10 days of your submission. If you want to get back to them sooner or later, that's up to you. You can edit that however you wish. But just know that the longer you wait to give students feedback on an assignment, the less effective it is. So there's just time goes on, they get into new material. They're also in other courses. So if you wait too long on that feedback, it's just not going to be useful. And if you're taking time to do the feedback, you want it to be useful. All right, and so the next section in the welcome area, we talk about the course structure. And so this section is going to inform students on how to navigate the course, where to find the various components. And so navigation cues like we have here, there's a brief description of the links in the course menu. So basically, we made a list of this course menu here, we pasted it here, and then made a brief description on what is found there. And you might be thinking, gosh, that's a little much. Can't they just figure all this stuff out? Well, just keep in mind that they may be figuring out 3 other courses that semester too. So it's always beneficial to list that and just give them a little guide. They may be able to figure it out on their own, but just in case if they aren't, they can always come here and know exactly what each link, the purpose of each link there. And so if you customize your menu here, like let's say if you rename content to lessons or modules, or if you add a link to this, make sure you update the course structure here. And then of course we've got some blue highlighting again, let them know what you're using, messages or email. And so that's the purpose of that section there. And then last but not least, at the end of each module, and this just goes for any module you create, it's always good to give students clear directions on where to go next. Just like in an in-person course, you wouldn't just assume that students know what to do next. No, you give them guidance and you introduce what's coming up next. And so here we have what to do next and how to continue. So it's always nice to put something like that at the end of each module just to create some order and a sense of completion. All right, so that was that section. Now we're going to move into the course information here. And just so you know, this here isn't actually a link. If you click on it, it's just a subheader and it just makes those sections pop a little bit. And so I'm going to go to the Start Here section. And this is missing from a lot of online courses that we see. And so you always want to have a clear Start Here section. There should be a clear starting point after you're welcome. And so we've created what's called course introduction tasks. And so these can be universal to any course. So we just put those in there because a lot of students, they may come into a course and we can't assume that they know what to do without guidance. And so this is going to cut down on students feeling lost when they first come into your course. And so you can modify these tasks or edit these and maybe you can add your own important tasks that are specific to your course. Maybe they need to gain access to a specific software, publisher content. Maybe they need to create an account or something. Or maybe they need to start getting familiar with Examity or Respondus. You can put that in there. And you can just edit this here and add to the number of tasks. Just make sure that you update the numbering. Like if you want to remove one of these or you add them, here we have a list of 5, and then we linked all of the activities down here. So there's 5 activities and there's 5 tasks. So if you edit the tasks, make sure you edit them up here and then you continue this numbering down here. And so just so you know, these are actually links here. So here we say read and print the syllabus. Well, that is actually linked to the syllabus link here in the course menu. And so all of these are linked to other parts of the course. And we'll talk more about that in just a second. So obviously we want to make sure students read the syllabus. They should probably print it and have it handy. It's always good to spell this out. And then below we have a link that they can get to it. And then we also have a link. The next task is learn about your instructor. They should know a little bit about you. And that's how you're going to create that social presence and your presence in there. So an initial self-introduction is always good. And we'll talk more about this link because it's in here in our course menu, but it's in the introduction tasks there, but we'll talk more about that in just a second. And then next we have a meet and greet forum. So this is a way to establish some more social presence. So there's a link to a discussion board here. It's not set up for grading, but this is an excellent way for learners to introduce themselves to you and to their classmates. And so if you do icebreakers in your face-to-face courses, this is the online equivalent. So you want to begin the course immediately to assist in establishing a sense of community and a welcoming learning environment. So this forum works well at the beginning. So hopefully, if you get them used to posting and interacting with each other right at the start of the class, hopefully that'll continue in through the rest of the course, especially if you're going to plan to use discussions throughout the course. And so I would take it a step further. In my courses, I would ask students to post a picture or a video because you can get a lot more engagement that way. But that's up to you. So that's just how I would do it. I would say, make sure you tell me about yourself and post a picture or a video. And students get really excited about sharing about themselves. And so this forum can also help you see who's actually made it into your course. So for Census Day, sometimes it's hard to tell in online courses, did people come in or did they not? You could use this activity to see who's actually made it there in the first few days of class. And so as you can see here, there is yellow highlighting. Remember, the blue is for you, but the yellow is for students. So we place that there just to highlight instructions on actually how to participate in the discussion, because we can't assume that students know how to participate in these. So it's always nice to give them a little guidance. And then, so here's a link to student resources, and we'll talk more about this in just a second because it's also in the course menu here. And then we've got another discussion board. And so this one is a little different. It's called the Muddiest Point Forum. And so this discussion forum is where students can post general questions about the course related to due dates, assignments, any questions that are general questions about the course. So this helps you address the same questions efficiently by posting one response in one common location that's going to be visible to everybody. And so students then have the opportunity to help one another by addressing questions themselves. And so faculty who give this forum a shot, they end up loving it. So if you keep getting the same question over and over and via email or course message, try posting the answer here. And then if students email you, you can just direct them to this forum for the answer. And so what faculty have been doing with this is they've used this to train their students to check for answers here before emailing them. And so that's going to cut down on your correspondence, which helps a lot, because if you have 50 students emailing you the same questions and you can just get it all out there at once and you can get more students to check here before actually emailing you, that is going to help tremendously. So I would say give this forum a shot. And what makes it work so well is if you do decide to use it, when you click on the link, make sure you select subscribe. When you click on the subscribe button, that's going to subscribe you to the forum, meaning you're going to get an email every time somebody posts on it. So it's not like you have to come in here and check this daily, because we won't. It's just too much to keep up with. But if somebody does post, you get the email and you know to come back in here and respond. And so that's a great way to lessen the amount of questions you get. And it actually really builds community, because sometimes students just don't read, and you may provide very clear instructions. And they may ask a very obvious question and one of their classmates can jump in and answer that for them. So this is going to really create that community of learning as well too. And then last but not least, just like I mentioned earlier, at the end of every module, you want to let them know that it's complete and what to do next. So there's that section there. All right. And so here you've got your basic syllabus link. Make sure you post that. Just so you know, we have a 24-hour downtime on Tuesday, the 17th. So August Tuesday, 18th. And so that's going to start at 7 in the morning. And that's going to end at 7 in the morning on Wednesday, 19th. So you must be thinking, why is she telling us this in the middle of the syllabus question? Well, just so you know, classes open up 5 days before the semester start date. And so students are going to have access to your course. So you want to make sure your syllabus is available, and you want to put that in before the 24-hour downtime on Tuesday. So I would say get your syllabi ready and in by Monday the 17th. That way when courses open up at 7 a.m. on the 19th after the downtime, then you'll be all set, because you won't be able to do any of that on Tuesday through 7 a.m. from 7 a.m. Tuesday until 7 a.m. Wednesday. So make sure you get your syllabi in and you fulfill your House bill requirement, because that is required by law to make sure there's a one-click syllabus link there. So make sure you get that in. And you can review yesterday's video if you're not sure on how to do that. But I'm going to move on into the section about your instructor. And so in this section, this was also linked in the course introduction tasks that we just went over. And so this is the second part that's going to need editing in this course. So again, the blue is for you. So you want to make sure and put your information here and remove that highlighting. And so your initial self-introduction is going to create a sense of connection between you and your students. So you may want to include a short bio, something about your teaching philosophy, your experience in online teaching. If you're new to online teaching, let students know. They might be able to relate with you because this may be their first online course. And so you can put any other personal information that you feel comfortable sharing. And so I would say it's good to share some personal information, because that's going to make students feel a little more connected to you. And so you you want to use a combination of text, photos, if you can, videos. That way you can establish a more open and collaborative learning environment. And because what you want to do here is humanize yourself to your students. And so I would recommend, and this is what I would do if I were teaching online, I would make a welcome video. So the Hastings Electronic Learning Center is open. So if you can make it to campus, I would highly recommend that you do, and consider having us record a welcome video for your course. So our team has these lovely studios, and they have great technology, and we can record that for you, and we can help you come up with a script, and all you have to do is read it off a teleprompter, and you get this nice quality video, and you can place it in all of your courses. And I know what some of you are thinking, well, I don't like the way I look, or I don't like the way I sound on video. But again, this isn't for you, this is for your students, and it's going to go a long way in connecting online and establishing your human presence. And so a good online course is going to include an instructor who's visible and active. So make yourself visible, even though you may not want to. And then here in the second section here, please update your contact information. Always put that in your courses. Provide your office phone number. Make sure that you set up your voicemail. Even if you don't plan on being in your office, you should really set up your voicemail, because anytime somebody calls you, if they leave you a message, you get that message is sent to your email. So you don't have to be in your office to get voice messages. So I highly recommend you set up your voicemail, update your office hours, let them know about your preferences on meeting for office hours. You may be only doing Zoom meetings, let them know that there. I would also add by appointment. This is going to make you seem more open and just give students the flexibility they need. And so this just makes it easy to get your information with a one-click link. So some people may say, well, that's already in the syllabus. Why do I need to put that in there again? And well, if you click the syllabus, you have to click there, you have to click again, you have to download the syllabus and wait for all of that to open in Word. So it's much easier, and you become more accessible here if we can just click a link and get all that information. And so just a quick tip in your communication with students, it's really important to exhibit care, empathy, and trust for them in your responses. Especially if we're going to be doing all this most likely via email, a lot of stuff can get lost in text. So we're being pushed online, and we have to show in writing and all of that, that we know that students have a life beyond the course. It's not just us that have lives outside of the course. So not only do many students take other courses, but they may be primary caretakers for parents or kids, or they may have multiple jobs, or they're just struggling to make ends meet. So a good online course is going to include an instructor who's approachable, who's responsive, who makes their contact information available, and who's going to work with students to address any problems and concerns as they arise. So that's why that section is so important. And then next, let's move on to the student resources. This is one of my favorite parts of the course. I wish someone had pulled all of this stuff together for me when I first started teaching online. This is just awesome, because when we're teaching online, we have to keep in mind that, okay, some students may never set foot on the WT campus. So they have no clue of what services and resources they don't know what's available to them at a distance. So the most they may get, they may come to an orientation, but for some reason, it's just like it goes in one ear and out the other. And all they may remember is that, okay, they go to the Buff portal, log in, and click on WT class, and that's their classes. And that's it. That's all they may remember. So if you put these resources in here, there's a link to course technology. I know there's a lot of concern among faculty. They say, my students don't know anything about WT class. They're not prepared for online courses, and I don't have time to teach them WT class. Well, if you put these links in your course, you can refer your students to this WT class orientation. So here they can enroll in a community group and practice actual tasks like how to upload an assignment, how to create a discussion board. So that's available there. In addition to that, we've got a link to our WT class help site. And this help site is wonderful. It's got everything they could possibly want to learn about WT class, things about assignments, tests and quizzes, how to check their grades. and how to get other technical help, or if they're having problems with media. I can't upload my assignment. Well, what do I do? You can refer them here and they can find every answer that they need here. And then also there's a recorded Blackboard training here as well. So if you want to put that in your course, there's a video there for students as well. And so I'm going to go back to this course technology link. If you're doing discussion boards, there's a link to Netiquette here and all sorts of other policies that are important to have in your course. And obviously, if I have problems with technology, there's a link to the help desk there and all of our information. So let's go back to this link listing. There's a link to support services. All of this is very valuable information for students to have. I think the most useful link here for faculty is going to be the university and registrar calendar. Online courses, again, students don't set foot on campus, so you may get really specific questions on when's the last day to drop with a W, or when's the last day I can get 75% or 25% of my tuition back. Well, I don't know, but you can click on this calendar or refer them to that and they can get all the important dates they need. And then last but not least, we've got a link to Ally, which is going to provide alternative formats for any of the files in your course. And this is really cool because any PowerPoints, Word documents, PDFs that you place in your course, students with special needs have the option to download alternative formats. And this can also help just all of your learners in your course in general, because there's some really cool formats like HTML or an MP3 file, and that's just really useful for people who are on the go. So that's a great link to keep in your course. And so I'm going to take a pause here because I've been talking for a long time and I want to hear from you guys. So let's go back to Mentimeter, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to change up the code for you because I've got a different set of questions for you now. All right, so if you'd please go back to menti.com, and we've got a new code for you guys. So the new code is 834757, and I'm going to paste that into the chat there. And so if you want to participate, go to menti.com, place this code in. And so I just want to get your opinion. So what sections of the template do you think are going to help students the most? So now that we've seen these sections, so we've basically covered the welcome section, the start here with introduction tasks, about your instructor, and the student resources. So what do you think is going to be helpful? Thank you for participating. I'm like, uh-oh, we're not going to have any participants. Great. All right, so a lot of people are saying the start here. Yeah, it's easy to forget, right? Great, the start here, the welcome, start here with a step-by-step. Yes, we kind of assume these things, and you don't think that you have to do these in an online course sometimes, but yes, those introduction tasks are going to be so helpful. Well, thank you. Probably the start here section, but they're all helpful. Yes. Oh, somebody likes the muddiest point forum. Yes. A lot of people love that, and it saves people a ton of time. Oh, start here and do this next. Yes. At the end, you should always let them know what they need to do next. Awesome. So I'm glad you guys are finding this useful. And so we're about halfway done through the template, and don't worry, the next half goes really quickly. But thank you so much for participating in that poll. I'm so glad you're finding this to be useful. And so now let's talk about the course materials. This is the bulk of the course. And so this is the third part of the course that's going to need editing. And this is obvious because this is where all your contents go, like your readings, your handouts, assignments, quizzes, and other links to course content like YouTube videos and other websites are all going to go in this content area here. And so what you're going to do when you get to this template here, when you get to this section, you have a decision to make. So either you're going to select folder or a learning module format, and then remove the other format from the content area. And so let me show you what that looks like. And so here we have a folder structure. And so folders are just like folders in real life. You can open up a folder and put stuff inside of it and keep it organized. Well, when you see a folder in WT class, you can click on it and see what's inside of it. So there we had module 1. We have an overview here, and then we put all of the items right underneath. So this is one way to structure your course. So you can have a folder within a folder, so they're just to keep things organized. So that's how you can structure it with folders. But there's also the learning module, and I'm in student preview mode because the module shows up better in this mode. And so the student preview mode is slightly different. You don't put stuff in folders. It's not a list of stuff. It kind of chunks things a little bit more. Some students like this, some don't. Some think, oh, I've got to click some more, but some really like it because you only get one little bit of information at a time. So you can just click through, you get your files, and you see how it really chunks things out. And what's nice about this is if I come back, if I come back to this page later, let's say if I come back to this module, and let's say I just need to get to assignment 1 or assignment 2, this serves like as a table of contents, and I can move through those depending on how I set my settings. So those are the 2 choices that are possible. And I'm going to turn edit mode on here so we can see a little bit more. So again, you're going to want to choose a module or a folder and delete the others. So you can just click that drop down menu and hit delete. It's up to you on what you want to go with. I prefer folders. I know several other people who love the module format. So you just pick what works best for you. But I would say don't use both because that is extremely confusing. Let students get used to just one format instead of the other. And so what you want to do here is, let's go ahead and click on that folder. And so we've made a little template. There's an overview here. So you just introduce your topic, a brief overview. Make sure you list your objectives. What are they supposed to know or be able to do after this chunk of instruction? And then list your activities. And by activities, this doesn't mean you just list your assessments. This means like you tell them, oh, you need to read this chapter or you need to read this PowerPoint. So what's nice about this is you don't put all the details here. You just list out your activities in the course, and it just makes it makes it really easy for students to come back and just use this kind of as a checklist to make sure that they've done everything. So we just created this little template for you, and we've made one of them available and the other one is hidden here. And so what you could do is click on the drop down arrow and select copy on the ones that are hidden, whether you go with folders or modules. And let's say you have, we've got 16 weeks and you have one here. So let's say you could copy this 15 times and then you have a folder now for each week or however you decide to chunk your content. So again, chunking your content is going to be key in an online course. You don't just want to put everything, you don't want to just dump it. You want to actually create chunks of instruction, however you want to break it out, modules, lessons, weekly by chapter. And then kind of like we did over here, let me show you that one more time. And so once you fill in your overview and your list of activities, then you can add the PowerPoint files or your exams. And so typically you want to have your intro template at the top and then start adding your items below and just make different folders for each chunk of instruction. So that's just one way to do it. This doesn't mean this is the right way or the only way to do it, but we've just provided that option there for you in case you're just like, I don't know what to do. So we've provided that there to give you some guidance. And then now that I've turned on my edit mode on this course, just know that every section of this template, we've got sections for instructors, and it tells you that it's hidden from students. Unless you unhide it, don't worry, students can't see this. It tells us there. But this gives you instructions on what you need to do. So don't feel like you have to remember every single thing said today, because every link in the template tells you what you need to do there. And so we've tried to make it that simple for you. All right, so that was the content section. Now, next we're going to talk about the discussion board. So we've got just a general link to all of the forums in the course. And so it's up to you if you want to keep this or not, but I think this is really helpful, especially if you have students do an initial post and then maybe they have to go in afterwards and respond to 2 or 3 classmates. If you put a link directly to all of the forums in your class, it's just easy for students to get back in there and post those replies. But some faculty don't like for them to have direct access to every single discussion board in the course. Maybe you want to chunk that out a little bit more, or maybe you want to provide some more context within the content area. So you can definitely add links to the discussion board in your content area in the corresponding folders with the corresponding materials. But we've added this link just to make it easy for students to get back to the board. If you don't want that link, I would suggest that don't delete it. I would just say hide the link instead, and then you have an easy way to get to your discussion boards very quickly. So if you don't want to make that available to students, you don't have to. And then last but not least, we've got our course tools. And so these are just the standard tools you're used to seeing in all of your courses. Again, make sure you send email or course messages depending on what your preferred method of communication is. We've got a calendar that you can add dates to. If you do decide to, let's say, use the tools in WT class for like assignments or discussions or tests, if you place due dates in them, the cool thing is that it automatically adds it to this calendar. And what we're hearing is that students love when you put in the due dates on the actual tools when you create an assignment, because they get a notification on their cell phone. Because if they have the app and they're signed in, it'll tell them you have a test coming up in 7 days, or you have an assignment due in 7 days. And so students really like that. So that's just something to encourage you to put those due dates in there. Some faculty are like, no way, I've got a course calendar. I'm not going to go through and put all my due dates in there again, which is fine, but just know that there is that added benefit to maybe give an extra reminder to students. And then last, here there's the link to the My Grades. And so students can see their course grades by clicking on this link. Try not to hide this. Students can still get to their grades through other areas in WT class. And it's really good for them to have access to this, because that way they can check to see if their submissions went through. They can take more control of their submissions if you keep that available. Because if you hide that, do you really want them emailing you every single time they turn something in? Professor, did you get my assignment? Professor, did you get my test? And so leave that open, let them see that. If there's a specific grade you don't want them to see yet, it's better to hide the column in the grade book versus hiding this link here. And then we've got a link to Smart Thinking. That's free live web-based tutoring on a variety of subjects. It's available 24/7. We've got a link to the library. They can get library resources and research help. And that's a good link to have, especially if you're having them do essays and things like that in your course. And then last but not least, we've got a course alerts link, and that's just kind of another place where you have all of the links to your modules, like how to submit midterm and final grades. And so that is the course template. And so I know some people kind of got ahead of me, but I will show you how you get access to this. So first off, I've already put everybody who registered for this session, I've already put you in our template course. So what you're going to do is you go to WT class, your courses should be listed at the top. Sometimes it's by semester if you've sorted it that way. But what you want to do is look for the section that has dev courses, because our template is a dev course. And so sometimes the menu is collapsed. You'll have to expand it. It's usually towards the bottom. But sometimes if you've got a lot of course listings, it's somewhere in between. So you got to look really carefully for it. But once you see that dev section, you're going to go to our template course, which is this one here, ITS Template 1000 Instructor Review. So once you find that, you're going to click on that. And then here's the template I've been showing you. And so you should have access to this. And some of you may be wondering, okay, well, how do I get this into my shell for the fall? Well, if you go to the welcome section, just in the way that this template has a welcome section for students, this is also your welcome to the template. So if you click on the welcome section there and you scroll down, remember I mentioned that there are sections with instructions on how you can use this template. Well, there's a video here that shows you step by step. It's super simple to follow on how to copy this template into your course. And then again, if you've been teaching here for a while and you have content from another course, this also shows you how to get that content from another course into the template, but you have to copy the template first. So that gives you step by step on how to do that. If you're like, I don't want to view a video, there are PDF instructions, and it's really simple. It's not a whole lot of steps. There's only 5 steps total on how to do that. And then another thing I want to bring up, last but not least, again, all of this is on the welcome page. If you scroll down, at the very end is that checklist. So remember we talked about there's a checklist. So let me click on that. It's a PDF file. And basically this checklist is going to help you keep track of all the changes that you need to make within the template. So if there's an asterisk beside something, that probably means you don't have to make any edits on it. But if there's no asterisk, then yes, you probably need to go to that area and edit it. So we have the first section there, the course banner. If you want a banner, that's reminding you to change that. There's the welcome section. Remember all the blue highlighting in there, you want to go and update that and so on. But once you update each section, you can place a check mark and you can move on to the next thing. And so some people may decide not to use a template, and that's just fine, but you might find this document helpful. And remember, you're already in that course, so go to the welcome section, scroll all the way down and open up the checklist, which is what we're looking at right now. And so on page 2 of the checklist, there's detailed descriptions. So this is the rationale. This is why you should have these specific elements in your course. So you could use this and create your own template. Or if you're like, I don't know how I feel about that muddiest point forum, let me see why I should have that. So all of that rationale is here. And what I like about this document as well is towards the end, we've got a section on other suggestions. So I'm not going to take up time talking about these, but we do have some suggestions about due dates and date restrictions, and we give you some options. That way, hopefully you're not overwhelming your students with all of your content at once. And also here is the contact information. So if you're interested in that course banner, please email Brandon, and his contact is in this checklist here, and he can get that banner made for you. And of course, we can help you put those into your courses once you're ready. And so all of our contact information is there in case you run into any hiccups while you're doing that. But now let me get you to participate in one last question here. So now that we've gone through the template, you know how to access it, you know where the video is that shows you how to copy it. I want to know, do you think the course template is helpful? Awesome. That's what we like to hear. And so if you've gone through this presentation and you're still feeling overwhelmed, or you're like, I don't get any of this, please don't hesitate to contact us. Let me go back to the presentation here. So we've still got upcoming trainings. So we did basics yesterday. We've done creating online tests today. We've done online course essentials. So tomorrow we'll be going over tests. We'll talk about assignments on Thursday, and then Friday we'll be doing discussions. So I highly recommend you come to those sessions, because again, that's going to help you establish a strong online presence in your courses once you get a handle on WT class. And so here's our contact information. Does anybody have any questions now that we've given you all of that information? By the way, if you're thinking, I kind of want to modify this template, we can get you what's called a dev course, and it's kind of like an area where you can play with the template, make it your own, and then copy that into a future course. So if you don't want to start working in a live course yet, just let us know and we can get you a dev course. And that way you're not working in a live course, and you can just copy your template you can make your template once and then copy that into all of your courses versus copying the template 4 times, editing it 4 times, and getting it into your course. So does anybody have any questions? All right, well, thank you guys so much for coming today. We hope to see you throughout this week for the upcoming trainings. Thank you guys so much.